Good morning and welcome to the Lakers Lowdown. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today on the show, it was a nice, quiet evening, quiet afternoon. Nothing really going on here. The NBA playoffs took a day off, and normally you will have some drama, some stupidity, and some tomfoolery pop up, and all of that stuff seemed to have avoided the Lakers. It was a nice easy night. I was able to just kind of chill and hang out and hold on. What? Those things, tomfoolery, stupidity, drama, all of those things, they never avoid the Lakers. Let's be honest. It just never happens. It's always going to be if there is some kind of dumb assery going on, the Lakers are normally going to be involved, and they were again this time, as LeBron James, according to Shams Charania. And by the way, if you guys listened to the show that I did yesterday with Raj Chapalu, I had mentioned this in passing too, right? That, you talk to people around LeBron and he's distancing himself from this. And the terms this time, I first started hearing about this heading into the weekend, and it kind of got louder and louder and louder. And finally, Shams had this to say on FanDuel TV.
Shams, the Lakers coaching situation.
Yeah, I'm told LeBron James is not involved in the Lakers head coaching search. I've reported on it last week. JJ Redick, James Borrego, Sam Cassell, the lead initial targets. But LeBron James made it clear this is the organization's decision. He's had no conversations with the Lakers about JJ Redick, his podcast partner. He's had no conversation with JJ about that position as well. I did speak to Rich Paul this morning. He said...
Where's that dog meme?
He said LeBron James and JJ Redick, they do a podcast together. That does not mean that he wants JJ Redick as his head coach.
Yeah, LeBron, according to Rich Paul, just because LeBron does a podcast with JJ Redick, that doesn't mean that LeBron wants him as his head coach. And Shams also saying there that LeBron hasn't been a part of this process, hasn't spoken to the Lakers about their head coaching search. And, there are a few theories that I honestly subscribe to, a few of them. I was, in doing my reporting this weekend about JJ Redick, one of the tidbits that came up was a conversation that I had with an Eastern Conference executive who said the following quote. This is from Lakers Daily. Quote, if they hire JJ and it doesn't work out, Rob Pelinka can basically tell Jeannie Buss the hire was for LeBron and get another chance at hiring whoever comes next. This is technically the safest hire he could make outside of Ty somehow being available. End quote. And yeah, the point there being, if the Lakers were to hire JJ Redick, it would very clearly be the guy that LeBron, would seem to prefer, right? And if that doesn't work out, it's like it might not work out. JJ doesn't have any coaching experience. If that doesn't work out and that, 2 or 3 year tenure ends and LeBron is no longer a Laker, Rob can kind of go to Jeannie and he can try to sit in front of the fan base again and say, well, look, I hired the guy that LeBron wanted for the last couple of years of his career, and it would be kind of like Byron Scott for Kobe there at the end too. And I think LeBron and his camp are pretty sick of playing meat shield anytime things backfire for the Lakers, and most notably being Russell Westbrook. I'm going to go into the history on that here in a second, but I think there's a lot of meat on this bone. I think there's a lot of interesting things going on here in that relationship between LeBron and the Lakers. But yeah, my first, kind of reaction when I first heard about this heading into the weekend, that LeBron was kind of distancing himself from JJ Redick as the hire. It's not that he doesn't like JJ, it's that he doesn't want to be blamed if the Lakers hire JJ Redick as a first-time coach, not just NBA coach, but first-time coach, and it doesn't go well. He doesn't want that to be a line on his resume. And aside from the LeBron Lakers stuff and aside from all, the way that this looks and all of that. Like, honestly, if you're getting ready to make, the biggest decision, I think, of the offseason, and there are already people kind of positioning themselves in a way that allows them to avoid blame, like, it really speaks to the fact that nobody seems to be doing anything for the benefit of, like, what is best for the Lakers. Like, I've been trying to figure out how to say this, and I'm just going to come out and say it. And the Lakers are probably going to get pissed at me for saying this, but like, when I try to identify the core tenet of the organization, the leading principle of the Los Angeles Lakers, that leading principle, the number one deciding factor on everything that the Lakers decide on is, will it help Rob Pelinka stay employed? Jeannie Buss doesn't want to have a tough conversation about Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka doesn't want to put himself or be positioned in a way where his job security is threatened. And that doesn't mean that they are actively acting detrimental towards what is best for the Lakers. I do think Jeannie Buss really cares about, the Lakers doing well. She really honestly cares that that on her watch that the Lakers are a successful entity. That said, I think that she wants them to be successful on her terms. And like, if it was just a matter of all that matters is that the Lakers are good, Jeannie would have had a tough conversation with Rob Pelinka right after the Russell Westbrook thing. Right. And maybe she did. And maybe they had conversations about it. And Rob Pelinka outflanked LeBron. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But like, if people are already positioning themselves and hoping to ensure that they avoid blame for a big decision that you're going to be making, things are not working the way that they should. They're just not, and like, one of my core principles in this industry and over the course of my life is nobody can function at their highest level if they're living in fear of repercussions of failure, right? If you are at every turn nervous that the next decision that you make can be your last, then you're never going to pull the trigger. And you're only ever going to pull the trigger on the absolute safest things. And the reality is, you have to gamble on occasion. You have to stick your neck out there on occasion and take a risk on occasion. And if you're afraid of what happens if or when you fail, because you're going to fail, you're going to miss a shot, you're going to, you're going to screw up your mid-level exception. You're going to screw up, whatever player that it is that you bring in. You are going to fuck up. Like, it is going to happen no matter what it is that you're doing. Everybody is going to make a mistake. And if you are, trying to operate at whatever it is that you do, and you're afraid to make a mistake beyond, like, if you're a doctor, yeah, you should probably be afraid to make a mistake there, because there could be lives on the line for you making that mistake. But I'm talking about professionally. If your number one priority is always going to be your continued employment in that spot, you are always going to, like, in the NBA, especially in a field as driven and as complicated and as competitive as the NBA or professional sports are, like, if your priorities 1, 2, and 3 aren't actually improving, like, your team and giving your team the best chance that you can to succeed, then you're going to fail. And I think, like, when you look at the way that the Lakers have been up and down and, mostly mediocre during the LeBron and AD era, save for a couple playoff runs, if you look at that, like, a lot goes into being mediocre when you have special people in your organization. And I really think that like the Lakers have been mediocre for this long because I don't think at any point here, while LeBron and AD have been Lakers, maybe save for the championship year, but even there, like the Lakers won that championship and Rob immediately started disassembling the roster, and never seemed to grasp what made that roster special. And I think a part of why he disbanded that roster was he wanted to win with his guys. He wanted to win with his roster, with his fingerprints all over it. And I just don't think he's equipped to build a roster that can succeed at the level that the first one that he had succeeded at. And I look at the way that all of this is going, and I look at the all of the just per, perpetual posturing and positioning and leaking and finger pointing and all of that nonsense that is always following the Lakers. Um, it's not exactly a shocker to me that this organization isn't functioning at the level that it needs to. And until everybody kind of gets out of their way, their own way, and everybody else's way, like we're just going to keep running into stupid ass stories like this one. And I mean, I'm going to talk more about this story specifically here in a second, but I wanted to start macro here and just like really kind of outline and highlight how dumb this is that you're getting ready to hire your head coach and already you have your star player aligning himself in a way that says, look, this is that guy's choice. This is a Rob Pelinka decision. I have nothing to do with this, which is A, freaking ridiculous. Like it's asinine to believe. And B, it says something that like the reason he's doing this is because of the fallout from the Russell Westbrook trade. I want to take you guys back. Before the Russell Westbrook trade, or even immediately after the Russell Westbrook trade, and certainly before it looked like Russell Westbrook was going to be a disaster, remember LeBron would tweet, remember, like, so there was that roster that the Lakers put together that was ancient, right? And we were told all year, just wait, Trevor Ariza is going to come back. He's going to fix everything. And you had Carmelo Anthony there, and you had all of these, I think they brought back Dwight Howard, and you had all of these former All-Stars, and every freaking lead up to, games when the Lakers were on ESPN was like, look at all the future Hall of Famers on this roster right now. And it was like, yeah, but like you may as well have stuck Kareem on this thing, right? Like, yes, they did in past years make all-star games and win awards and win basketball games and win championships, but unfortunately, you don't stack resumes against each other every game. Those players have to step out onto the court and play. But leading into that season, and that was a year, we're leading into it, as that roster was being put together, Rob Pelinka, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis were all saying how active and how involved LeBron especially was in putting that roster together. Doesn't mean that Rob Pelinka didn't sign off and didn't love all of those moves. There's a lot of the type of players that Rob Pelinka likes. But heading into that season, when I remember I was making fun of the age on that team, and it was a big discussion across the leagues, like, look how old that roster is. And LeBron fired off that tweet, oh, you're making fun of this roster. You're making fun of the old people. And really kind of stood up for the roster. We haven't seen that since once that roster and Russell Westbrook specifically was a disaster, LeBron ever since has been like, nope. We want to talk about personnel. We want to talk about roster decisions. That's a Rob Pelinka discussion, right? I am not involved with that stuff. And the reason that started taking place was because, again, and I want everybody who is subscribed to this channel here, every time you see this, right, at me, and I'll if you find, larger platformed people, like people with shows and people who should know better, saying that like, oh, well, Russell Westbrook was just a LeBron James saying, and it was just Anthony Davis. Like, no, let me know. And I'll at the very least, I'll let those people know that you should know better, right? Like the most recent example of it was Dylan Hernandez of the LA Times, who was, going about that stuff. And it was like, it was nonsense. It was stupid. And he should know better. But anyway, like the reason that LeBron started backing off of personnel stuff was because Rob Pelinka, whether it was internally and externally, telling everybody he could that the Russell Westbrook thing was all LeBron James. It was all Anthony Davis. And again, like, Magic Johnson said that Rob Pelinka stabbed him in the back. There were those reports that, like, in days that Magic wasn't there, Rob was like walking through the hallway saying, like, "Where's Magic? Have you seen Magic?" Making it known that Magic wasn't there because he knew that if Magic struggled and stepped down, Rob would probably be the person to step into that power vacuum. And that's how it played out. And the guy he's a very, very smart individual, and I think he can be pretty manipulative. And I think what LeBron is doing here is he has seen how that has gone in the past, where Rob convinced not just LA media, but Lakers fans, and most importantly, Jeannie Buss, that Russell Westbrook was a LeBron James idea, and it was an Anthony Davis and a Clutch Sports idea. And what LeBron is doing here, just like he's done with all of the other personnel decisions since, is not me. You're not doing that again. Rob, you want to hire a first-time head coach? You want to hire a podcaster? And you want to do so on my behalf? All right, but I'm making it known. This is not me. It's ridiculous to think that like LeBron James wouldn't have had a conversation with Rob Pelinka at all, or even JJ Redick for that matter, at all, about being the Lakers head coach. It's like, it's asinine. Of course he's had conversations. Duh. But the biggest thing here is because of the way that Rob operates and because of the way that the Lakers organization operates, where I would argue, I said it over the weekend at the party that I described to Raj, and I can't say who was at the party because I don't want, certain names to be aggregated or whatever. But the point that I kept on making is the top priority I think here for the Lakers is saying that you want to win, but I think their top priority is ensuring that Rob Pelinka continues to hold his job. Obviously, Rob is invested in that, and Jeannie Buss is very invested in that. And if you win with Rob, awesome, fantastic. But I think if you were to like give those people who could make that decision on Rob Pelinka a choice, would you prefer to win without Rob Pelinka, or look like you're trying real, real hard with Rob Pelinka? I think they go for the latter. They'll probably say that everybody's going to say like, "Oh, winning is the top priority." It isn't. It clearly isn't. It hasn't been, because if winning was the top priority, Rob wouldn't have the opportunity to hire JJ Redick right now. You would have brought in, at the very least, you would have brought in somebody to help make Rob a little bit better at his job. But no, like that's off the table. That has not been a conversation to this point. Rob's seat never got warm, despite being mediocre with LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the organization. So clearly that's not the top priority. And I think LeBron sees that too. LeBron worked with Pat Riley. He went back to Cleveland and he worked with David Griffin. And he's worked in these organizations that run more professionally than the Lakers are currently run right now. And what LeBron's doing now is like, all right, CYA. That's it. You want to hire JJ? Cool. But just know that's on him, not just on me. It's on him. He doesn't want to watch that movie again. Does this change the likelihood that JJ Redick will be hired as the next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers? That feels like the $1 zillion question, doesn't it? I tend to think that it doesn't, but I do think that they are probably going to, at the very least, make it look like they're trying real, real hard to, ensure that JJ is definitely the guy, especially after my report that they essentially had zeroed in on JJ even before they started interviewing other people, that JJ was their preferred candidate. And maybe that changes here from here on out as a result of, again, the conversation that my reporting started up, and then way more importantly, LeBron, handling things the way he's handling it here. But I want to go back and I want to play a clip from right after the game that we all need to keep in the back of our minds here, as the Lakers embark on this offseason.
Tonight, was there any thought at all that, this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
Everything to this point is still indicating, and everybody that I've spoken to have the utmost confidence that LeBron is going to return on a 2 or a 3-year deal back with the Lakers. But like there was that random report at the very offset of the or at the very onset of the offseason that basically the Lakers and the relationship between LeBron and Jeannie has never been better. Fantastic. The relationship between LeBron and Rob, that's a little tricky, And one thing, with somebody who has kind of the gravitas that LeBron does, and somebody who, like, I think LeBron is a very smart person, but I tend to think that he thinks he's a little smarter than he actually is, or that we are all dumber than we actually are. It's pretty easy to read some of these things. And like with Ham, right at the very beginning of the season, he was really clear LeBron didn't mess with that guy at all. When it finally got to the point where AD was finally like, all right, this guy is not good. And by the end of the year, like, it got worse and it got worse and it got worse. But with LeBron, it's like he's just incapable of doing anything quietly, partially because of the way that he is wired, and partially because, like, the entire industry moves every time that he tweets. Like, that's part of it too. But it's become pretty clear that LeBron and Rob are just not quite, like, in lockstep on a lot of these things. And I tend to think here with LeBron and with this hire and with the rest of his Lakers tenure here, that he is going to be very, very careful about how Lakers fans feel about him on his way out. And I don't think, well, for one thing, I know he doesn't like the whole coach killer thing. That like, he doesn't like that narrative about him. He recognizes that he holds coaches to a very high standard, but I don't think he likes the whole coach killer thing. That's not a narrative that he is particularly fond of. But I also think he recognizes that Lakers fans, if they are behind you, they are behind you. And with his future endeavors, whether it's on the silver screen, whether it's in podcasting or other forms of entertainment, he knows that if he doesn't have Lakers fans, like, as giving him support, that, like, they can make you or break you. We can make you or break you. And you look at the other really, really profitable business people who have come from the Lakers: Magic, Shaq, Kobe. When you get the support of Lakers fans, it tends to really help line your pockets. LeBron wants to be a billionaire. LeBron wants to own a basketball team. LeBron needs to raise more money in order for that second thing to happen. And I think he recognizes that if he ends his Lakers tenure on bad terms, and he walks out that door, whenever or however he walks out, and it's on, like, not the best note, or it's not on the best vibe, that puts some of that stuff at a bit of risk. And I think that's kind of why he is, this is about as volatile a report as you're going to get on this front. But it's also like, I also think that it's him making sure that if this doesn't work out, he's already, the Russell Westbrook thing is a line on his resume, his Lakers resume, that he can never erase. It was a disaster of a move that he pushed for and was executed by Rob Pelinka, but is 100% on his docket. And if also on his docket is the Lakers hiring a person who was never coached before, and that doesn't go well, then he also recognizes that those are two big hits to your resume there. And if it works out, like, that's going to be what's funny, right? Is all of these people who are distancing themselves on this stuff would all of a sudden be like, "Oh, we knew it all along." I can just I can just picture the headlines or the quotes if JJ turns out to be good at this, which, like, by the way, I keep getting told that a lot of people throughout the league think that JJ can really pull this off. But if the Lakers hire JJ and it works out, or even funnier, if the Lakers don't hire JJ and he goes somewhere else and he's a good coach somewhere else, that's one of those things that, like, LeBron is probably going to say in a podcast, or he's probably going to say somewhere else. I knew it right from the get-go. This guy is a very detailed person. This guy's a great communicator. This guy is this guy is that. And you know that you're going to have all kinds of people lining up to take credit for those kinds of moves. But when you start that potential relationship with JJ Redick, and it's here, with a whole bunch of people basically trying to sidestep this thing as it's beginning, it just doesn't send the best message. And part of it is a whole bunch of noise that, like, honestly might not even matter in a few months, depending on how the offseason goes and depending on how next season goes. Like, nobody's going to remember. Well, I'll remember this stuff because I just remember dumb stuff. But nobody honestly is going to remember any of this if it works out. But I don't know. This is now 27, 28 minutes of me talking about this stuff. And the reason I can talk about it for this long is just I'm so exasperated with the way that the Lakers do their business. I wish that they were more serious. I wish that they were more professional. I wish that you didn't get these nonsense leaks heading into a gigantic decision that they desperately need to get right. All right. I think that's going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lowdown Pod. Slightly shorter episode. We went an hour and a half with Raj last night, so hope you guys checked out all 3 parts of that. The plan as it stands right now, so long as we don't get any big breaking news, is to go ahead and look ahead to a conversation that I'm going to have with Harrison at some point later today, or tomorrow. We'll see what his schedule looks like as well. And then we're just going to keep on chugging along. I'm always really hesitant to really jot down plans in pen this time of year, just because you never know. But I also want to do so. I also still want to care about the basketball that's being played, because these conference finals are going to be incredible. And I think they are going to, kind of have giant ripple effects, like what the Nuggets choose to do this upcoming offseason, now having lost in the second round. That could really impact the Lakers. So I'm going to keep an eye on that as well. So anyway, enough of my rambling. Until the next time that you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will talk to you tomorrow.